Well, a very good evening to you and welcome wherever you might be joining us from to Diplomatic Communique. My name is Ricardo Knagosep. This is the program that focuses on everything that our foreign missions are up to, of course, in the designated countries. Tonight, we're focusing on Egypt and Palestine, UAE, and of course, additional countries that our ambassador is being accredited to. And I'm joined here in studio by retired Major General, of course, also former Deputy Inspector General in the Namibian Police, have been posted to a number of missions even before he came to Egypt. That is, of course, Major General Vilio Hifindaka. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for making time out to join us tonight.
Good evening, Ricardo, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, I've mentioned, of course, in my introduction, Egypt, the UAE, as well as Palestine. Which other missions are you accredited to?
Yes, the Namibian Embassy in Egypt, it's also concurrently accredited to Saudi Arabia, to Kuwait, Yemen, Eritrea, and Palestine.
And Palestine.
Yes.
All right. Before we get there, of course, you also experienced, I can say experienced diplomat at this stage. I know, of course, it's Major General, so it's quite tricky sometimes how we need to refer to you as well. But before you came to Cairo, you were first stationed in Congo Brazzaville. How would you describe the transition moving out now from Congo Brazzaville, which is a more francophone, to now a more Arab-dominated territory like Egypt?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a life of a diplomat. We serve at the behest of the appointing authority. You can be moved to any country or any part of the world anytime as you are being appointed by His Excellency Dr. Hagenkop, President of the Republic of Namibia, to take such responsibilities. As you referred to Congo, I was posted there in 2014. I spent about 6 years. And in 2020, I was transferred to go to Egypt. But in between, I had no opportunity to communicate with the public, the people of Namibia, on what I did in Congo.
I think perhaps but briefly, touch on that briefly. Yeah. Please touch on that.
Briefly, it was indeed an honor for me to be assigned to go and open a Namibian embassy in Congo Brazzaville. In other words, I'm the founding ambassador of the embassy in Congo Brazzaville. While serving there, I made sure that I concentrated on economic diplomacy to such an extent that when I was recalled and transferred to Egypt, the president, His Excellency Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo, awarded me with a medal of excellent service. I think I should share this with the public. And also, just to indicate how active we were. You have noted that whenever there is a national day, the Independence Day, mostly it's only a deputy minister of international relations and cooperation who attends. In our case, in 2019, there were 10 cabinet ministers. And you can see how we raised awareness about Namibia and her investment opportunities and the trade opportunities that are there. That over 10 cabinet ministers attended the Namibian Day.
Moving on to Egypt, in terms of the bilateral relations between the two countries, how would you describe our relations with Egypt?
Thank you for the question. You might want to recall that Egypt supported the liberation movements in Africa, including Namibia. That is SWAPO. SWAPO, the movement that liberated Namibia, opened an office in Egypt, in Cairo, in 1963 to coordinate the support, material, financial, from the government of Egypt and the people of Egypt to pursue for the liberation struggle of Namibia. And the ties, the connections, the relations between Namibia and Egypt is dating that back to that history that we have with them.
What are some of the main areas of cooperation between Namibia and Egypt, Major General?
Egypt is highly industrialized. Egypt is one of those giants, the heavyweights when it comes to the economy. In fact, is the second biggest economy in Africa. Therefore, there are quite a number of areas in which we are cooperating with Egypt. That's the cooperation between Namibia and Egypt. That includes education, that's number one. That's for capacity building for the Namibian people. And Egypt provides free training to our people. That is for capacity building. And that's in the areas of agriculture, land, security, defense, diplomacy, and many other areas. And these courses are free of charge, just given, offered by the government of the Arab Republic of Egypt. That is on education, capacity building. We also have on agriculture. All in all, we have about 15 memorandum of understanding
between the two
countries. And on agriculture, I'm just informing you on the achievements, what we're able to achieve. On agriculture, Egypt seconded 3 agricultural experts to Namibia. That was last year, 2022. And they are still there, providing their expertise on agriculture. That is what I can say about agriculture. There are many other areas on which we are cooperating. And we are also getting assistance from Egypt. And I will mention those.
You'll mention those. Yeah, let's touch on that assistance quickly before we go on the break, and perhaps also bring in the element of trade, is how the trade balance looks like between the two countries.
Yes, as we speak, the trade balance is not that much high. It's negligible. But what perhaps is more important to mention here is the interest by the business community in Egypt and in those countries that we serve to invest in Namibia. That's what we have enhanced as I speak. We have more than 10 companies from Egypt that went to Namibia with intentions to invest and grow our economy. So on trade is negligible, but with the investment that they intend to do on the areas of agriculture, they also want to do mining. They are also going to be involved in the renewable energy. Those are some of the areas in which they are interested.
Major General, your of course areas of expertise, you're coming from a security and defense background as well, of course, at the highest level. And you mentioned a bit earlier on that we have defense and security cooperation also with Egypt. I know sometimes, of course, some of those are quite sensitive conversations, but what you can share with us in terms of defense and security cooperation, which areas are we cooperating in?
Yes, you are absolutely right. I have no mandate to say much about cooperation on defense, on security issues. That mandate I do not have. In any case, it won't be much of interest to the public, you know, to know some of these things. But what I can say is that they exchange in terms of capacity building. It's not only Egypt that's doing that, but they are exchange programs.
All right.
Yes.
We'll go for a short break as we continue to speak to Major General Hifindaka, retired, of course. He's the ambassador to Egypt as well as Saudi Arabia and a number of other countries in the Middle East, including the Palestine. When we come back after the break, we'll reflect a little bit on the situation in Palestine. And of course, our position as a country has been very, very clear for many, many years. But we'll hear from Ambassador when we come back after this break. This is Diplomatic Communique. Welcome back to Diplomatic Communique. I'm Ricardo Congo Brazzaville. Of course, I'm in very, very good company for tonight's edition of the program. Our ambassador to Egypt is joining us here in studio, Major General retired Hifindaka. A bit earlier on, of course, we're talking about different areas of cooperation, but I know for this year, in terms of the heads of mission conference that took place, the President Congo made it very, very clear that the theme really going forward is economic diplomacy, and we need to see how we can strengthen those ties. Can you reflect on some of the economic cooperation that we have with Egypt?
Yes, thank you very much. Egypt, that's North Africa and Middle East, is very important to Namibia in terms of growing our economy and development. Maybe before I say much about that, I must indicate that as representatives of His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, the President of the Republic of Namibia, we do have a duty to promote Namibia. We do have a duty to make sure that investment opportunities that are in Namibia are known by business community in those countries that we cover. We have a duty to search for markets for the Namibian products, and that's exactly what we are busy doing.
That is not only for Egypt, but
not only for Egypt,
for the Middle East as well.
Yes, and because of the importance of these countries to Namibia, the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade in 2020 posted a commercial attaché to our embassy in Cairo. And in 2022, the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board posted an investment attaché, an expert. So because of this posting of the investment attaché, the commercial attaché or counselor was transferred to another station. So you can see the importance that Namibia attaches to the economies of these countries. These are countries that are industrialized.
Heavily industrialized. And,
Yes.
I wanted to touch on that, Ambassador, as well. I mean, we're talking right now about discoveries of oil in the country, and we're also trying to build the industry in oil and gas as well. And how many of you talk about Middle East, we're seeing how they have successfully been able to develop using their oil. Is there perhaps some best practices we can also learn from them in terms of this new industry that we are trying to build?
Definitely. There are many lessons that we can get from them. To start with are the skills that are required. That's one area that we can cooperate with them so that they can train our workforce to be skilled in that area. Petroleum products or chemicals can also be sourced from those countries. And the expertise that they have, we need that in Namibia, definitely. There are quite a number of them who have indicated their willingness to invest in those areas. And we explained to them the procedures that we have in Namibia if one want to invest. So, and they are preparing themselves to venture into those areas.
When we talk about the Middle East, of course, in those parts of the world, you cannot have a conversation without Saudi Arabia. We know Saudi Arabia is a powerhouse in the region. What is our diplomatic relations like with Saudi Arabia?
Thank you for the question. It is very good. We have now started discussing on economic cooperation because we know that they have a lot of skills that we need in Namibia, and we are now busy discussing with the government so that we can have opportunities for our people to be trained. That's for capacity building. They are also interested in these areas of renewable energy, as we have communicated with them. These are countries that are rich, as you speak about Saudi Arabia, and they are making use of the resources, natural resources, to uplift the living standards of their people. We have been reading about some of this, but some of us, we have seen it now. Yeah. For example, in Saudi Arabia, if you get married, you are given a house and a car free of charge. That's the level that they have developed.
Can we immediately start lobbying for that also here, Ambassador?
For us here, we first need to put our house in order in terms of our natural resources. As you know, our government have taken decisions that raw material will not be exported anymore from Namibia. And there are specifics that those that they have indicated. And that's the way to go. So that value addition is going to create employment for our people. Because our main duty as ambassadors is to look for all those opportunities that are going to give employment to our people. Those opportunities that are going to contribute to the reduction of poverty. You know very well that foreign policy is just an extension of the domestic policy. So therefore we are responsible for making sure that we fight unemployment and we reduce poverty. As we engage the business community out there in those countries, what I always have in my mind is the life of the poorest child in the remotest village in Namibia. That's what I have in mind. And I would want to lift up the standard of living of that child. And that's the duty that we have, and we'll continue to do that with pride.
In terms of economic cooperation from the side of Saudi Arabia, are there any agreements that we currently have in place, particularly with economic cooperation?
Not as yet, but there are discussions.
Yeah, discussions.
Yeah, positive discussions that are going to lead to that. Thank you.
All right. Stay with us. You're still watching Diplomatic Communique. We'll be back after this short visit to the marketplace. Welcome back to Diplomatic Communique. Of course, tonight we're focusing on Egypt as well as the Middle East. I'm joined by Major General Retired Hifindaka, who's the ambassador to that region. Ambassador, of course, and I think I'm also quite excited to have this conversation with you because of your background in security and defense. The challenges and unrest in the Middle East have been coming along for decades. Some are saying, look, we might have we are not paying as much attention as we need to solve the particular problem, and it seems like it's part of our day-to-day business now. What are your immediate reflections in terms of the situation in the Middle East in general?
Before I say anything on this situation, allow me to convey the message of condolence from His Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, the President of the Republic of Namibia, to the families of all those who lost their lives of this war which is taking place now in the Middle East, in particular in Palestine. And also his wishes to those who were wounded or injured for a quick recovery.
In terms of that, of course, right now the big one is what's happening in the Gaza Strip, in Palestine and Israel. What is our position as Namibia on concerning that conflict?
Our position is very clear. Namibia stands in solidarity with Palestine. Our stand is in line with the United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 of 1967. This resolution calls for the withdrawal of the occupational forces of Israel from the Palestinian territory, that is from the Western Bank and from Gaza. They should be withdrawn. And that resolution calls for two states that should be together in peace and harmony.
In terms of this, of what's happening in the region there as well, what does this tell us about the state of diplomacy, basically, and international relations? I mean, it seems more and more, it's becoming more and more difficult for us to get along as neighbors, as countries, you see, in different regions when these things are happening. What does it tell us about the state of international relations? So is it part of being part of this community in a particular region, or can we do more to improve on situations, particularly those that end up costing the lives of civilians?
All that we need to do is to take more steps to ensure that there is peace in that region. And those steps that we can take are the ones of convincing the parts that are at war to come back to the table of peaceful negotiations and finding a peaceful, lasting solution to that problem.
In conclusion, Ambassador, before I let you go, what is the key item that you want Namibians to take away from our conversation? And of course, how should we view our relations with Egypt and the Middle East?
Yes, before I answer the question, I must indicate that the rights of Palestine to self-determination must be granted by Israel. They must be allowed. Israel can continue killing people, women and children, destroying buildings, but that will not stop the Palestinians from demanding and fighting for their rights to self-determination. It's just a postponement. It's just a postponement. No matter what they are going to do, the amount of weapons that they are going to make use of during this, it's just a postponement of that struggle and the achievement of the rights to self-determination of the Palestinian people. They must just have that in mind. So because they can win now. But what they are going to win, what they might win, it will be a battle. It's not a war.
So you're saying that two-state solution from 1947 is the best outcome for the situation?
Yes, that one of 1947, the resolution 242. Yes, that's the best solution. And it's the only solution. Anything else, it will be just a postponement of what should be achieved. Finally, or last words, I would like to call upon the Namibian people, in particular the business community, to seize the opportunity to visit Egypt to visit the United Arab Emirates, to Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and seek for business partners, those business people or companies that can come to Namibia and have joint ventures with them so that we can grow the Namibian economy.
Ambassador, thank you so much for making time out to join us this evening.
Thank you very much.
That is, of course, tonight's edition of Diplomatic Communique. Speaking to us, a Major General, a retired Hifindaka, who is the ambassador to Egypt and the larger Middle East. Of course, talking to us about the resolution, particularly in Palestine, saying that Namibia's position is very clear in support of rule of law, support of protection of human rights, and of course, finally, that 1947 resolution of the two-state solution as the only and the best outcome of the conflict in that part of the world. On that note, I'm Ricardo. Thank you once again for joining Diplomatic Communique. Until next time, bye-bye.